Hello there, Lynx here, and welcome to another visual novel found on itch.io. I can't move closer because of the dumbbells now. I think it's okay. Anyway, Lost Girl, I do believe this might be a Yuri visual novel. I actually wanted to set up the dim lights so they switch between what we see now and like pinkish color. I kind of wanted, you know, the colors for the girls, but for some reason it doesn't work the way I want, whatever. So in this episode it's like that. Maybe it will change in the next one. Let's check the game. It looks pretty darn good when it comes to the itch.io page. So yeah, maybe like this. No, that doesn't sound right. Sorry, I forgot to pour water as well. No, that doesn't sound right either. Maybe like... No, actually, let's go like that. It's freaking animated as well. Damn. Wait, was it? Okay, now I have to check. Do you hear the music now? You don't hear the music. Okay, so if I go into browser now, that happens. Come on, game. I mean, browser. Lost Girl by Daisy. It's been released in December, by the way. And it's quite literally a free game. And it has animation and such. Holy crap. I didn't remember it was completely free or like pay what you want, because that's also an option on the itch, which is cool. And maybe I should just forget it. Oh my god, if it had voiceover it would be the perfection. No matter what I write down, it doesn't feel right. I wonder why. How do the pros even make it in this world? I don't have the answer, unfortunately. How do they decide what is right? What is meant to exist on paper? What story is good and what is bad? How do they always know what to say? For as long as she could remember, Serena's fuck, there could be various options for that name. Let's go. Serena's life was like an unfinished novel. She had spent her whole life with a book in her hands, feeling as if within its pages was the only safe place she could belong. Damn, this is a good looking character, seriously. And animated. Well animated. But it was only recently, as she started college, that she had decided to take her fate into her own hands and to write her own novel. I mean, I would say good timing. Not gonna lie, I mean, probably at college you had the most time to do something like that as well, and you can also do both, so yeah, probably a good timing. I mean, that's at least that's my experience. Okay, I was capable of connecting university and this weird thing called YouTube. Sure, I'm still running YouTube, but I would say not in an extent that I used to, unfortunately. But yeah. Anyway, but that process, which she has been struggling to complete for the past month, has yet to make any progress at all. Unless you count the dozens of crumpled pieces of paper overtowering her wastebasket. I mean, you know, that's something is progressing, girl. I mean, I'm not an author, but I think you have the progress, right? That's something.
Maybe if I read them again, try to understand their processes, then I could be like them.
I don't know if that's the thing. Won't you get into like the problem of not being original yourself?
Could be. Remembered for my words, my passion. Who am I kidding? I'm just some nobody from a small town. Nobody would listen to me, right?
I mean, I'm a nobody from a small town as well. She held up a small stuffed fox, its blood orange coat shimmering under the fluorescent light of the desk lamp. The fox was just barely big enough to cover her chest, but every time she held it felt like a fire that warmed her all over. Its fur, she defended, was the softest thing she had ever touched. It was her go-to when she needed something comforting to hold on to, which here, at this university, was very hard to find. Wait, this is a freaking room that she would be given in... Seriously? That's crazy. At the dorm, you get a room like this? Holy crap. That's nice. Maybe not, maybe she's renting somewhere else or living at her home, but... If this was a dorm room, holy crap. Amazing.
I wonder what Mama is doing right now. Those little devils are probably giving her a handful.
Despite herself, Serena found a smile drifting to her face. Her parents had worked hard to send her off to even this small college, an opportunity which, given their large families and low incomes, they themselves never got. You know what I noticed? Like, large families, rabbits. She's a rabbit. Makes sense, I guess. Also sounds like you are in America. Because it sounds like this college is paid. Too bad. Yeah, I didn't pay for my college. Anyway, they got stuck raising a family of little ones themselves, Serena being the oldest, followed by 3 younger brothers, all of which were quiet troublemakers. Her mother always told her that she wished they would grow out of it soon and be more like her like their big sister.
If only they could see me now.
Granted, she had only been at college for a month, but she thought she'd be on her way to writing her first novel by now. Doesn't it take like a lot of time to write a novel or a book? I don't know, man. Month seems like not really enough. But what do I know, right? I've only been writing like projects for university back in the day. And sure, that would be like, alright, one evening, chapter 1 finished. Let's go and record something. To having at least a couple close friends around to invite her out to local food joints. To be making sincere progress in her studies. Instead, she was alone in her single dorm room without a single friend, grade, or novel to show for it. She couldn't help but think that if her parents saw her now, they'd be disappointed.
I have to do something, anything. I can't let their sacrifice end like this.
Incomplete and total failure, she thought. But she wouldn't allow herself to say it aloud. Instead, she stared her fox as she held it out a bit further from her chest, wondering if her fox plush was alive, what he would do. Could the fox from the starting screen be that fox? We'll find out. But they just stared back at her with those black button eyes. Fine. Sorry.
Fine, Felix. I get it. You want me to figure this out on my own.
She didn't get any answer, but she assumed Felix nodded his pointy ears. To this she began to think critically, instead of depressingly about what she should do to make the most of her time here. Surely there was a solution that would solve all her problems, something that would fix this. And then it hit her.
The library! That's it, Felix! There's a huge one right here in Everton!
She slid her desk chair back in a jolt, laying the fog splash down haphazardly on her desk as she did so without thought. And I need to find out if there is a city called Everton somewhere. You might be thinking, oh, Lynx, Everton is in Great Britain. Yeah, there is a football club like that, but it's situated in Liverpool. Yeah, I know that. Not club, Everton, city. There probably is a city called Everton, I mean, why wouldn't there be? Town? No, it's still showing me the club. God damn it. I don't know. American city? Even before it shows me Tim Howard, who was a goalkeeper there. No. Oh, there is one in Arkansas. Okay, so let's assume we are in Arkansas right now here with Serena. I had to find out. Sorry. Her attention was solely on her desk drawer as she opened it up hungrily. Her hands moved around her notebooks, some pencils, her study materials until... Also, she has a projector in her room.
Ah, here it is.
She pulled out a pamphlet with a photo of a large staircase surrounded wall to wall with bookshelves. No bookshelves, as far as she could tell, had an empty space. Each crevice was filled with an infinite number of books, all with their own intricate bindings and color schemes. She could get lost in just a picture, but she steadied her mind. I wish we could see that picture. Now more than ever she needed to focus. But I can imagine this library being impressive. Sorry for the yawn. Oh, sorry. It's after 2 actually. AM.
Let's see. Oh, it's just a few blocks down too. Guess I've been so busy settling in, I haven't really had time to think about exploring.
So she made sure to pick up the library's pamphlet as soon as she saw it from Everton Local College's directory on her first day of classes. She had spent the first 2 weeks unpacking all her stuff into her dorm. So she's in the dorm, okay. Holy crap, that's really impressive for a dorm. That's ridiculously impressive. Then again, I've seen Polish standards, so... maybe it's better not to compare, yeah. And not long after she got quite a few difficult assignments involving easy essay papers about famous scientists who really didn't pique her interest at all. You know what? Yeah, holy crap. On first semester I had to make a presentation about a person that inspires me or whatever, and I'm like, what? Dude, no. And I had to make something out. I don't even remember what I made. Given I was studying logistics, I think I went out with... I don't even remember the name of the guy. Who the heck is the owner of... Holy crap, what was this company name even? One of those freaking transportation companies from America. Oh my god. I don't remember. Whatever. But yeah, It was such a bullshit, by the way. I mean, I have no... I honestly, I studied logistics, but I was good at it. But I had absolutely no interest in it. Anyway. But now that her assignments were caught up as far as she knew, she could finally take some time to go see it.
This is perfect! Felix, tomorrow's Saturday!
It's true, actually it's Saturday when I'm recording this.
So I don't have class, I can spend all day there. I can read some novels to help me with mine, study for my first exams, and maybe even make some friends there.
Wait, exams that early?
I've heard it's so big you can actually get lost in the shelves. It's a book lover's paradise.
Why is she bouncing like that? I think I'm doing it like that as well. Anyway, in the back of her mind, she knew it wouldn't be this easy, but it would make her feel better to exaggerate and talk about this, as if it was taking a vacation, which to her it honestly was. So without trying to overthink it like she usually did, she decided to just take the high and read off with positivity. Which is kind of easier than being sad, but yeah. She turned off her desk lamp, curled into bed, and hugged Felix tightly to her chest.
Labyrinthe, huh? I wonder what I'll find there.
Okay, it looks freaking awesome, but why is she doing that constantly? Anyway.
Amazing! As Serena strolled into an expensive and expansive library, she couldn't help but proclaim her surprise due to not only the large size of the building, but also how many books it was able to hold.
No matter where she looked, I don't know why I did in her voice, but whatever. No matter where she looked, there were more books than she had ever seen in one place. More than she could even begin to count. She wondered if the workers or even the manager even knew how many were within these walls. Probably. Shh. She was so surprised, in fact, that she didn't even realize how loud her proclamation was. She quickly threw her hands over her mouth, her cheeks turning bright red in embarrassment as she gave a polite bow to the woman who now had her finger raised sternly over her mouth. Serena assumed she was a librarian, by the way. She was stacking books neatly away just in the left corner, pausing only to push those who made too much noise to disturb her and the library's guests.
Sorry.
Even though she said this as softly as possible, by the way. The librarian was still glaring at her. She expected the woman to get mad. Again. Instead, the librarian just shook her head and continued filling away book after book like Serena didn't exist anymore. Speaking of libraries, have I mentioned... I did mention in the past that I would totally want to give it a try, right? And I actually did apply for one position in the library, but
I did not get an answer. Bastards.
Now it doesn't matter, but yeah. It was at the moment when I wanted to switch, but yeah, now it doesn't matter, but yeah. And that library is going to get closed anyway, unfortunately. Anyway. Serena let out a relieved sigh, placing one hand on the clothes strap of the bag looped around her shoulder. The bag was rather heavy, containing her college textbooks and notes. I think I'm losing my voice. As well as Felix, whose head was peeking out of it, like a curious cat peeking out of a box. With her other hand, Serena lifted the Labyrinthe pamphlet, raising it up to compare it to the building itself. Like they often say in response to vacation photos, there is nothing quite like being there in person. Yeah. Even though the picture was an exact replica of what it looked like before her, and if you ask Serena to play spot the difference, there would be very little to spot, except possibly the placement of a few different book spines, and the people scattered about being here just felt different. The smell of books in the air, oh yeah. The sound of the crisp pages turning, the feel of book spines, that is something Serena firmly believed you could never replicate. True. Man, the smell of book is awesome. The smell of fresh book. Oh, nice. And from the large crowd that had gathered inside Labyrinthe that day, many people seemed to agree.
There is quite a lot of people here today, Felix.
She whispered quietly to her fox plush, so used to talking to him that it was just a reflex. Fortunately, she kept her tone quiet enough that no one even looked disturbed. There were people in it, on all of the floors she could see, on the main floor and up 3 rising dark wooden staircases, and she assumed people flooded the basement below down the staircase she could just make out to the left. Some people were alone, tucked into corners, groups at tables and pairs hidden by bookshelves. There were people standing next to each other, tracing their fingertips over book spines and discussing which one to grab, and group students copying notes from textbooks into notebooks. And multiple people sitting by themselves in lamplit corners just tuned out from the rest of the world with their favorite books in their laps. Serena supposed it made sense that it would be busy due to the fact it was a Saturday and this was a college town, as well as this town's main attraction. Library being a main attraction, that's interesting. And also good. Very good. But it still made her a little nervous to be around so many people, even if they were all silent or only talking in hushed tones. But more than that, she had another big problem on her hands.
Where should I even start?
When she looked around, which at first was in complete surprise and amazement, all she could feel now was overwhelmed. There were probably billions of books here, hundreds of sections. It wasn't as if she had a directory, and she was not exactly fond of asking that female librarian for one. Yikes. She looked at her pamphlet, but all it had was a background on the founding of the library, pictures of the shelves, and staircases going up, an address, and profound literary quotes. All she had to rely on was her own instincts, which she often was wary of. She didn't know why, but she decided to make light strides toward the left stairs first. Yes, the left direction. In gaming, it's the proper direction. The basement. Why would she go to the basement? Perhaps she thought people would be scarcer down there. And at every library or bookstore, holy crap, sorry, she ever went to. Yeah, Friday night, huh? I was running today. They always had the best and rarest books in the most tucked away sections. At the top of the stairs, she could see the dark staircase leading down, but she couldn't quite see the bottom from here. She looked worriedly at Felix, but her fox plush was silent.
Maybe I better not go down there just yet. No.
Serena whispered again, for something was urging her to go down there. She couldn't tell what exactly, but it was like some outside force was telling her to face her fears and take a leap this time. She steadied her nerves, letting out the deep exhale. Maybe not this loud, but she tried to focus on the fact that there was indeed a red arrow pointing down, telling customers there were more books down below. Can we? Oh man, the F button doesn't hide everything. What about H? No. Shift? No. Anyway, the fact that she was being invited down here by the library itself made her feel a little better.
It's dark. Tiptoeing down the stairs, thankfully lit fairly well, by multiple hanging light bulbs overhead, Serena moved her eyes from left to right. Her heart was hammering against her chest. She had been terrified by going into the basement alone since she was little. Like most normal children, her mother always assured her.
I think I will sneeze in a second.
To be honest though, she was often terrified of going into unknown places alone.
Understandable. Or I yawn. Yeah.
Holy crap, I'm so tired. I think I'm saying this in every video now. Which, with how shy she was often quite a problem due to the fact she found it difficult to make friends. She had even been having problems sleeping in her lone dorm room the last few weeks, for she assured and promised her mother she'd be fine. There's nothing down here! There is nothing down here!
Whispering it to herself rarely kept her from shaking, but it did help her mentally. If you say something enough, it becomes true, she always heard. So if she says that there's nothing here, then it will just be her and the books. It will be a dream come true.
Are you sure about that, Dame Hot? Holy grabbot! What a beauty! Are you sure about that?
Serena screamed bloody murder so loud she was sure they heard her from the main floor. But disturbing the other library guests was the least of her worries. Her foot slipped halfway down the steps due to the sudden voice, causing her to slide on her butt all the way down. She winced at the bottom just before turning her head up in horror to the owner of the voice.
Leave me alone!
When she looked up, she looked into the eyes of a hungry fox. Fox girls, pest girls. A fox who was studying her intently as if on the prowl. She was being hunted, she thought, and she couldn't bring herself to move.
You're the one who came to my lair for... Shouldn't you apologize for intrusion? I'm sorry, but please just let me go.
The fox raised a hand out to grab her, and Serena began to cry in terror. Never would she have expected her paradise. Her answer to all her problems would be her tomb. She never even got to say goodbye to her parents, her little brothers, to even make a friend in Everton, or finish her debut novel, or to graduate. It was all over now. She clenched her eyes shut, too terrified to watch what would inevitably be her end.
Her thighs folded, folks, her thighs, man. Those thighs are so nice. Holy crap.
But instead of hearing a growl or a snap, she heard a light-hearted sound she hadn't heard from another in a long time. Slowly she creaked her eyes open and found the fox on her knees, laughing. She had her arms wrapped around her stomach as if to hold her guts in as her body shook with amusement. Serena herself was beyond confused. Wasn't this fox just going to eat her for trespassing? In what way?
Relax. I'm not going to eat you. It was just a joke. Huh? A joke? You know, a prank. I heard you coming down the stairs.
You know what would be cool? So it would be cool if I could connect this to the PC in some way. And I could go like, you know, she's talking. Boop.
I heard you coming down the stairs and thought I'd have some fun scaring you a bit. But I honestly didn't expect you to fall all the way down the stairs and start crying.
At this, the fox stopped laughing and looked over the other with a twinge of worry in her lilac eyes. She blushed. That's so cute. She raised a hand, rubbing the back of her neck awkwardly.
It really was just a stupid prank. I hate to see girls cry.
Thank you. Finally a character with some sense. I don't like those lines.
Oh, you look so cute when you cry.
No. This is what it is about.
It's the spacebar that erases.
Okay. Surprising, because in most VNs it's Enter or spacebar that moves the text forward. Also, you can now see. Damn, those thighs. And our rabbit girl's design as well. Really nice.
You didn't sprain your ankle or anything, did you?
I did a little bit today, actually.
And now we switch the character. Boop. It's not even the
I don't think so.
But it's, you know, it's too much of a pain to click on the phone. And I don't... there is a high chance I will not click perfectly in the same spot, so yeah. Now realizing she was out of harm's way, Serena's heart rate and shaking began to calm down. She looked around and began to move her ankle side to side, but honestly the only things that hurt her were her butt and her pride. To fall for such an obvious prank, fall down the stairs, and even cry in front of a stranger. A freaking beautiful stranger? Maybe it would have been better had the other actually ate her.
Sorry. I'll make up to you, okay? Can you stand?
The fog girl stood up to her full height, holding out a hand to help Serena up. She wore a broad smile on her face, but Serena could tell it had a twinge of nervousness in it. The fact that her freaking tail moves, it's so good. As if she was worried about offending the other with her gesture. But Serena definitely didn't want the other to think she wasn't grateful for the gesture or offended, so she took it. Probably a little too greedily and stood to her full height. And her ears twitched, I mean, awesome. Which she noted with a frown was about a head shorter than the fox.
Thank you. My name is Layla. It's just me down here, so you don't have to worry about anyone else seeing that. And I'll try to erase it from my mind, but no promises.
At this, Layla winked.
Ding, 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 ding.
Whatever. And for Serena felt her cheeks heat up a bit, she also found herself crossing both her arms over her chest in annoyance. She was thankful that no one else was around to see her make such a scene, but she was definitely not happy that the other had pulled such a prank at all in the first place.
Serena! And you better have a good reward for this, like the rarest book in the world or something. Serena, huh? It suits you. You definitely have that innocent, quiet nature about you. Don't make fun of me! I wasn't. It was a compliment. And I don't know about the rarest book in the world, but I have a feeling I could help you find a book you might be interested in. Really? You do that?
Whenever it came to books, Serena was always quick to forgive. Not that she was the type to hold grudges anyway. But with the suggestion that Layla help her find the book to ease all her worries into obscurity, it was as if what had happened was erased completely from her mind.
What can I say? I live to please. What exactly are you looking for anyway? Well, I came here for a few reasons. But I guess the most important reason is...
To find a fox girl. No?
A book to help me write one. Oh, a little novelist, are you? No, not at all. At least not yet. I came here to look for inspiration to write my first one, but I have no idea where to even look.
In the outside world? For a moment, Layla just studied her. Serena wondered if there was something on her face, or if the other was just perplexed by what she had said. She looked at Layla nervously, wondering what was running through the other girl's head.
Follow me.
Without hesitation, or to see if Serena really was going to follow, the fox girl turned on her heel and began to head further into the depths of the library. Or as Serena was going to call it from now on, the Fox Den. With worry but also spring in her step, Serena followed the fox further into the labyrinth, wondering what she might find. Now this is what my university's library was like. Kind of. I mean, I've seen it. It doesn't mean I haven't borrowed anything from it, okay? I was there once out of curiosity. I quite literally did not borrow a single book from there. Ow. Oh, my freaking back hurts.
Are you sure you should be following me all by yourself? I'm a fox, you know.
Layla flashed the other a quick, mischievous grin, to which Serena blushed and puffed out her cheeks in annoyance.
I can decide who to follow my own, thank you very much. And though you may look intimidating, it doesn't matter whether you're a fox or not. I could be a killer for all you know.
Layla gave a short chuckle, looking Serena up and down in an amused way as they walked further in the basement.
Really? You? A killer? Okay, fine. I'm definitely not a killer. Not even a little bit violent. But that doesn't mean you're either, just because you have sharp teeth and intense eyes. Oh, so I've still got those killer looks. Good.
Serena's cheeks were no longer puffed out as she studied Layla's light form as she turned around and continued leading the other further into the labyrinth. Did the fox girl want Serena to think of her as a killer or not? I don't know, think of her as a freaking beautiful fox girl. The bunny girl furrowed her silver eyes in confusion. She really didn't understand Layla's meaning at all, but she supposed she had never met a fox girl before or known Layla long enough to understand her antics. By the way, I mean, I have the proof of me being into fox girls right behind me, right? Is it visible? I mean, if I won't forget, I might zoom, but I might forget it. Because there is nothing to censor in this video, so I won't be looking so far off through it, right? I mean, I might zoom on it, but yeah, in the background here, right? There is some fox girls. There's one, certain. For in the front row, what you can see is her in her technically cat form, but yeah. Anyway, she really didn't understand Layla's meaning at all, but she supposed she had never met a fox girl before or known Layla long enough to understand her antics.
Like what you see? Yeah?
Serena blushed wildly, instantly looking away. She realized she might have been looking a little too intently, so much so that Layla might get the wrong idea. She's getting the good idea.
It's not like that! You just had a stray hair is all. Is that so? Quite intense face to be making over just a hair.
Layla began to chuckle at her own joke, and Serena rolled her eyes. She couldn't help but think Layla's pun reminded her of one of her dad's infinite lame jokes. Seems like even 2 hours away she still couldn't escape them. It's fine.
That wasn't even remotely funny. Really? Then why am I still smiling?
Despite herself, as Layla turned around and gave the other a huge grin, Serena found it hard not to smile as well. She even chuckled a little bit, realizing there is no point in dampening the mood.
Alright. It was a little funny, a little bit, just a tiny bit.
Suddenly, Layla stopped. Serena froze in place, glad that she was able to stop in time, and didn't run to the other awkwardly as she often did when trying to cross a busy store or street. Never happened to me. Layla's eyes, for they were darker in color, gleamed brightly in the dimly lit room they had just entered. She gazed at Serena with an intent expression that the bunny could not identify.
Are you okay?
Serena let out meekly, tilting her head in confusion. Was it something she said? She did? She couldn't help but think, was the other upset at her? She clutched her back to her chest tightly, her body tensing up as it always did when she felt a confrontation about to arise.
Your smile.
Layla spoke softly, softer than Serena had heard her talk this whole time. And she was so serious that it was starting to make Serena even more nervous about this encounter. But before Serena had time to reply, Layla reached out a hand, which, to the bunny's girl's surprise, was super smooth to the touch. Sorry about that. The fox's hand gently caressed Serena's cheek, which began to turn red in embarrassment at being touched in such a doting way.
It might be the brightest thing I've ever seen.
The bunny girl found herself completely still, her heart dancing in the rhythm she had never felt before. Oh, she's a hunter, okay? Here she was, in a deep basement with a stranger who was now caressing her cheek and looking at her with such an intense stare she didn't quite know what to make of it. No one had ever looked at her like that before, as if their attention was solely encapsulated by just her presence. As if they were scared they would miss something she did and didn't dare look away. And to say her smile was extraordinary bright, Serena felt her bottom lip quiver, unable to reply in any other way.
Sorry. I acted without thinking again. Here, this is what I wanted to show you.
It was as if someone slapped Serena in the face. The fox girl retrieved her hand and quickly turned so fast that Serena couldn't see her expression. What's your name? Did she make the other upset? Was there something she was supposed to say in response? But it seemed like as Serena finally willed herself to take a step forward into the next room, the moment to discuss it had passed.
Amazing! What is all of this?
Serena's attention was quickly grabbed by the large sea of books that surrounded her. Hundreds of books were scattered. Some filed neatly into bookshelves, barricading the outskirts of the room. Some in stacks covering a pair of two ornate coffee tables, spaced out perfectly apart to take up the middle section of the room. And some scattered across the floor by themselves or tucked away in numerous cardboard boxes. There were so many dark wood shelves you couldn't even identify the wallpaper behind them, and Serena could just barely make out the floor creaking under their feet due to its bright red carpet covering. The books, she noted, all had unique faded bindings, but many looked dusty and in disrepair.
This is where the books go, when they either don't get sold, or they aren't found in the directory.
Wait, since when books are sold in the library?
They get stashed in here, basically up for grabs to anyone unwilling to take them home. I call it the book graveyard. So I feel like I may have stolen that from something. It's a cemetery, actually, but are you sure these are just up for grabs? See for yourself.
At her question, the fox girl pointed to a sign by the doorframe. A sign that the bunny girl must have missed on her way in due to surprise of seeing the room for the first time. The sign read, "Free books inside." And as Serena went to go pick up a book off the ground, she found that it had no scan bar to check it out. Her hands were rewarded with a thin layer of dust coating them, but Serena didn't mind. That's a cool thing, actually. That's a really cool thing.
But why show this to me? Aren't these the books nobody wants, that everyone would try to avoid?
At that, the fox girl strode over to a book on the coffee table that was half opened. She picked it up and glanced over its contents for a second before returning her gaze to Serena.
Before this morning, I didn't know this book existed. No one knows it. But within the first 2 hours of the store opening, wow, we were here early. I've already made it through 200 pages.
Doable.
I didn't even realize until I heard you creeping down the stairs how much time had passed.
Serena could see Layla was wearing an old wristwatch. How did she manage that? I wonder. One that showed that it was precisely noon. The bunny girl had tried to get here when the library opened, but ended up oversleeping due to turning off her alarm instead of hitting snooze, as she often did on the days she could sleep in. I always do that. Not only on days I sleep in. She herself found 200 pages to not be much of a daunting task anymore, due to how greedily she devoured books, but to read that much in 2 hours, especially with a disturbance to boot, Serena found pretty impressive.
But if it's so good, then why didn't it get sold? Why is it here? Because people only care about the novels everyone else talks about.
That's so true. And it's not only the novels. Video games. I guess anime, manga, books, novels, movies. What else? Artworks. I don't know. Basically, you get the gist of that, right? But it's true.
They don't talk about these obscure novels made by nobody in the middle of nowhere. So they end up here, where no one knows about them. Nobody except those who come to look.
Serena looked at the book in her hand, wiping off the rest of the dust on her faded legends and opening its faded red cover. In curiosity she read the title, typed neatly in swirling italics, The Starless Magician. She for sure had never heard of it as a book title before, and she found herself turning the book to the first page and began to devour it like she had any book that crossed her path. Except those books she found empty despite no matter how many words they held within.
Before you start, you should probably sit down.
The fox girl herself had already made herself at home, sitting in the corner of the room with the book in her lap. She patted the space on the rug beside her, inviting Serena over to come read with her.
That's so nice.
Okay, that's nice, not gonna lie. I know I'm jumping the gun here, but having someone that you can like sit side by side with, or I don't know, back to back or whatever, and just read a book, that's so freaking nice. Apparently Serena noted there were no actual seats down here, so they would have to make do with sitting on the old rug. Not that Serena herself minded, as long as she could curl up with a good book. Serena clenched her back over her heart again, wondering if it was wise to be sitting so close to a stranger. Come on, Serena, just look at that girl. But the way Layla looked at her with those inviting eyes, and the invitation to read a new book no one else knows, Serena found was impossible to resist.
Right!
Serena made slow, cautious strides over and lowered herself on the floor as gracefully as she could. She sat down about a foot away from Layla, who was now giving her a proud smile.
Once you're done reading that one, a whole new world will have opened up to you.
And from what Serena knew about novels, she knew Layla was telling the absolute truth. Every novel she found led her into a different world she never would have been able to enter on her own. Books were like portals to another dimension, and once you stepped through, always stayed with you. Serena steadied herself book in her hands and began to devour her first forgotten book. As she began her journey into this book's world, she wondered if this book would help her on her journey. But she could only find out one page at a time. And before she knew it, Serena had devoured another book. But it was different this time. This one was a forgotten book. A book no one knew about, a book that had been tossed aside as if it didn't exist. Holy crap! And yet, its story was alive in her now. She closed the book's cover, placing it over her heart.
That good, huh?
Serena had a tendency to block out the outside world when she was reading. And she also had a tendency to be quite startled when something or someone broke her out of her world-diving trance. Understandable. She let out a couple of deep breaths before facing the fox again.
You really shouldn't scare people so much, you know. I could have had a heart attack.
Sorry. I guess it's just my nature. At this, Serena gave her a long, calculating glance. This wasn't the first time today, the day of their fated meeting, that the other had said something along those lines. She wondered how the other meant her words, how she saw herself. Did she say those words with pride, proud of being intimidating enough to affect people? Or did she say those words to hide a fear that was eating away at her? Serena couldn't even begin to tell, for there was barely enough time to get to know somebody.
You know, you're much more than what you are. You're not just a fox. You're a Layla.
What?
The girl who showed me this amazing place. Who introduced me to this book and probably many more, and I don't know if I could ever repay that. So thank you. Thank you for being you.
Serena gave her a bright smile, the second she had given her that day, and the last hockey grin faded from her face. Instead, what replaced it was first a surprised look on that, one that showed she was completely caught off guard by the other's statement, which soon molded into a small smile of contentment. Contentment, sorry.
You really are something, you know that? Huh? Well, that's good. I might have a crisis if I find out I'm not really anything.
At Serena's poor excuse at a joke, both of them fell into a fit of chuckles, which soon swirled into a tornado of laughter. A few minutes felt like forever, and they ended up laughing so hard that their stomachs ached and tears of joy fell from their eyes.
You are seriously too much.
Really?
At that, Serena's smile faded a bit. In her mind, she had always been average. Besides English, she had never really been good at anything. She wasn't crafty. I'm not crafty myself. She was never good at sports. Okay. I guess I was good at sports. I might still be. She was quite terrible at socializing and had a very few, if any, friends at all.
Okay, I'm bad at that.
But I have friends. Okay, so, but yeah, like not many. You know, quality over quantity. And the only hobby she could talk about was reading, a topic on which few people she knew could actively participate in without boring them to tears.
You're more than you...
Sorry.
You're more than you know, Serena.
At those words, Serena turned to look at Layla's warm smile. And she felt all her worries begin to disappear for a moment. Someone else was talking to her. Someone believed in her.
Don't turn my words against me.
But from the way Serena was smiling, Layla knew she wasn't upset this time when she retaliated like before. She was playfully jabbing back, a skill which she hadn't had much time to cultivate before with her non-existent social life. In response, Layla just shrugged.
I couldn't resist.
Serena was still cradling the book in her arms and gave it another look. She began to think about why she'd come here, what she hopes to find. And she found more than she ever bargained for. A story about magic, and using it to light the night sky for others to guide their way, or at the very least, your own way.
I love this book.
I could definitely tell by the way you haven't let it go since you picked it up 3 hours ago.
3 hours?
Without asking, Serena lifted Layla's watch arm towards hers. And lo and behold, the clock had already struck 3 p.m. It's not that late. Kind of dinner time. She let the other's arm go and said a silent apology, to which Layla just shrugged in indifference. It didn't feel like 3 hours had passed at all. And Serena found she still had so much more she wanted to look for, to read. She hadn't even come up with a plan or a synopsis of her novel yet, or actually studied for any of her classes. But perhaps she thought strangely. She had made some points on the socialization level, which may even escalate to friendship.
Or...
No, listen. She hoped.
Did you finish your book?
Serena suddenly remembered that Layla was already halfway through reading a book she had really liked when she intruded down the steps.
Yeah, and started a new one.
When Layla raised the book now in her lap, Serena noticed that it was definitely not the same book she was reading before. This book had gold letters carving down its spine and looked to be about a fourth of the way read from the place Layla marked it with a small felt bookmark.
Have you always loved reading? I suppose. I was a little more adventurous as a child, always running out to play and all of that. But sometime after I became a bit more solitary, books were my escape and I've been unable to keep myself from them. Sounds pitiful, doesn't it?
Serena wondered what could have changed. Perhaps she thought people just changed and became new people over time. Somehow, though, she could tell something happened to make Layla change. For the circumstances might be hard to digest, she was glad Layla chose to become an avid reader. Now that I think about it, I have not read like actual books in very long, but you know, technically I read manga, right? But whatever. But I read so freaking many visual novels. It's crazy. Oh boy. I mean, I probably would not be able to read those many books in the time I've read the visual novels. It's crazy. And I think I can count this as books, kind of, right? Probably. After all, it led them both to this point. Serena shook her head firmly again.
They are an escape, but they also teach you to and help you grow. Books are portals to everywhere. How could you not want to explore them? To learn all about these places and worlds lying just beyond the surface.
At that, Layla's warm smile returned, and a blush as well. She seemed happy with the sentiment, and she couldn't deny Serena's words. For Serena didn't know the details of the other's past, much like Layla didn't know her own. She felt content that someone else, at least, appreciated books, and her understanding of them.
So what now? Want to find another book?
Honestly, Serena had no idea what the next step was. She didn't expect to read a whole novel in one sitting. And she certainly didn't expect to be reading right alongside a fox girl.
A beautiful fox girl, by the way. Very beautiful.
But here they were.
I think I need to think about what my novel should be about. Well, I'm all ears if you want to discuss it. I've got nothing but time.
At this, Serena gave the other a curious glance. Why did the other choose to come to Labyrinthe in the first place anyway? Oh, god damn it. I have no control over that. Surely she wouldn't have known about the forgotten books down here. But it was something Serena couldn't quite bring herself to ask with how new the relationship was.
I haven't quite sorted it out yet, but I will. I have faith in you, even though I barely know you. Which is weird. But I suppose not as weird as sitting next to a stranger reading forgotten books all day. Yeah, I guess so.
Serena chuckled at that, unable to deny Layla's claim. It was strange how fate brought them together that day. How they managed to be so content in the other's company after so little time of knowing one another. Okay, sometimes it does happen though. Like you hit it off straight up with someone. It's crazy. But it's a nice feeling. Perhaps Serena thought it was just the kindred spirits of book lovers. Or perhaps it was that fate had something more in store for the two of them. Back in her bedroom after a decently short and uneventful walk home, the rabbit girl began to contemplate how her evening had gone. Serena spent the rest of her time that day at Labyrinthe staring at a notebook with a pen in her hand. She scribbled some thoughts down and then crossed them out one after another by these dozens. Occasionally she would look over at Layla, whose fox ears were tilted in focus as she devoured another forgotten novel. Not wanting to bother her, Serena kept at it, in hopes that something would come to her. A bet that she would have lost had she been putting money on it.
I can't believe I couldn't come up with a single thing.
Thinking back on it, she had multiple chances to ask Layla for help. Layla stayed with her the whole evening, after all, up until the library closed just as night fell. In fact, Layla told her she would be more than willing, but she couldn't bring herself to ask. Not only was Layla practically still a complete stranger, but she also hated interrupting anyone. Oh my god, Layla, you are so great. Especially when they were reading. Reading to her was a precious time that should never be interrupted, unless someone was dead or dying, which fortunately neither of them had to deal with on a Saturday.
It just didn't feel right, asking her about something like that.
A book was a very personal thing to Serena, something you put your heart and soul into. And she didn't feel she was okay with opening up to someone she just met quite so intimately yet. Maybe it wasn't a big deal to others, sharing novel ideas out into the ether, as it was little more than pitching a sales idea. But to her it was like cutting off a part of her soul and handing it to another. She just wasn't ready for that kind of commitment.
You understand, right, Felix?
She was sitting on the side of her bed, her fox Plush's arm tucked between her thumbs as she held him in her lap. She gazed into his eyes, but she couldn't find any answer. She took that as his way of saying,
"You should do what feels best to you."
But the problem was Serena didn't know what that was.
What should I do?
It was the question that hit every young adult, especially those in college.
Yeah, that's true.
That's so freaking true. I mean, not really only in college, I would say. I mean, I think it first hits you in high school. I mean, it hit me first time in high school, like, dude, I'm graduating. But what do I want to study, actually? What the hell? Like, I have no interests. Nothing that is offered interests me at all. And yeah, I ended up in logistics.
Which, as I said, I was good at.
But yeah, in like last semester I was like, holy crap, I don't like that. Yeah, I mean, I think I graduated also as the third person on my year out of like I mean, the starting point like was like 100 people. So not bad, I guess. Anyway, I wanted to say something else, but I don't remember what. A break for a yawn again. Anyway, it was a question that hit every young adult, especially those in college, yeah. Once you made the commitment to go to a university, especially if you are someone important to you, sacrificed so much for you to be there, then you felt as if you had to have a plan. I mean, kind of. I feel like I don't have a plan at all. Like, you know, you'd like to get like a nice house and whatever, but how to get there without a loan? That's the problem. At least in this crappy country known as Poland. An answer. But how do you decide what to do with your life? Yeah. How do you make that dream a reality? But the more Sirina thought about it, the more lost she felt. Yeah. The more questions she had. She could take an infinite number of paths, but which one was the one that she was meant to walk on? And what if she took the wrong one? Where did her story truly begin?
I wish I could just wake up and be an author and just write and read forever.
It was a dream she had since she was young, cuddled up in her blankets with a book close to her. When she was too young to read, her mother read to her. Isn't that a natural thing for? I mean, my mother used to read to me when I was like a freaking little brat. But as soon as she could formulate sentences on her own, she began to pick up novels all on her own. Yeah, eventually I would do that myself, obviously, as well. Oh, freak, that's when it started. My night owl life. Holy crap. Because, I mean, quite literally. Like the way since it's behind me, right? In the old house, I had the bed, and right by the freaking head side, I had a bookcase with my, well, technically picture books at the time, right? So I would just switch the light on at night and read. Oh my god. Books had destroyed my sleeping schedule from the very beginning then. Reading has destroyed me, and it continues to do that, but it's visual novels now. Some of them were more difficult and not to her taste as a young reader. But she always appreciated them and what they took the time to say. Even if she herself wasn't all that moved by it.
Perhaps I should just write what's on my mind without thinking too much about it.
Yes, try that.
But wouldn't it seem kinda... I mean, can I really just throw up on a paper and expect it to be good? For someone to like it just cause it's my real thoughts on paper?
Yeah. She looked down at her fox plush, who she could have sworn scratched up his nose in distaste at her. She chuckled a bit and gave him a pet.
Sorry for the analogy, Felix, but I just can't decide. If I think too much about it, I can't write at all. But if I don't think enough, then I worry it won't have any weight to it at all.
And so was the crutch of the writer. To constantly worry whether the substance of one's work was enough. To wonder if it was too blunt or too detailed. To constantly dance between the void of thought and instinct.
Perhaps I can ask Layla tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do that.
And she can help me decide.
If she could not decide on her own, then she could ask a fellow book lover. And the only person she felt confident talking to one-on-one in this town. She knew the other couldn't tell her how to write it, as the words and ideas had to come from her own soul. But if the other could steer her in the right direction, then Sirina felt it was worth it to ask.
Let's hope she's there tomorrow too, Felix. Otherwise, might never know when I get the chance to ask.
At the thought of not being able to see Layla again tomorrow, she frowned. She knew This person was still a stranger, and they weren't exactly friends or even acquaintances at this point. But she felt a sort of strange kinship with this girl, as a fellow reader and book lover, but also something else beyond that she could not yet describe. A feeling that would take quite a bit of time spent around Layla and in contemplation to identify.
You're right, Felix. I need to stop worrying. I'm sure she'll be there tomorrow again and everything will be fine.
The fox of course didn't answer, but she felt Felix agreed with her, as she hugged into her chest and laid down against the pillows. She nestled herself in the comfortable spot, throwing the blankets over her body and closing her eyes.
Everything will be fine,
she assured herself as she began to drift off into the world of dreams. For in the back of her mind, she thought about the forgotten book she had tucked away into her bag. Oh, I mean, it was said that you can take it, so it's fine. Wondering and worrying if she too would be forgotten in Layla's mind by the morning, just as that book was forgotten and left behind the darkest pits of Labyrinthe. Or perhaps she would be found, just as the starless magician had been by her. I'm losing voice, by the way. She supposed only the morning would tell. And we'll find out about that in the next episode. No, let's end it here. We'll continue tomorrow. I'm really losing voice, I think. So I'm gonna go and get some sleep, just as our friend Sirena here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope to see you tomorrow as well, because we'll continue this. Lost Girl. I like this game. I straight up say it now. I like it. And I want to continue it. I want to find out what's next. I mean, I will go even further beyond with the story today. If it wasn't for the fact it is 3:30 AM right now. And the second part, as I said, I'm losing voice. It feels like it. So we'll continue tomorrow. I'll repeat myself, but whatever. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.